I'm so excited. We are so excited to be with you at Banking on the Banks. My name is Gloria Mayfield
And I'm
Banks.
Ken Banks.
The husband. We are so pleased that you guys joined us for yet another episode of this show where we get to talk to you about relationships and success and business and laughter. We have a great time. But today...
Don't forget about working out.
Oh, working out, fitness.
Fitness.
Oh,
Got to talk about that also.
Yes, we got to... You want to have a good relationship? You need to be working out.
You got to stay in shape for sure.
Especially when I have a relationship with him.
Where they're going to follow us?
They're going to follow me at GLORIA Banks.
And me at official Ken Banks on Instagram. And you can see the podcast on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. Any place you look at podcasts, take a look. We'll be there. That's
where we'll be. You guys, today we're going to start out with this conversation about love languages. I absolutely love this book by Gary Chapman, and he talks about the 5 love languages. So it's words of affirmation, acts of service, personal touch, gifts, and quality time.
Very good.
Yeah. So which one are you?
Probably quality time. I think I'm a mixture between quality time and personal touch.
Really?
Yes.
Really? I thought I knew it.
Well,
I was wrong.
You should have asked me before. Before the episode, you should have asked me what you thought.
I sort of thought we had several conversations about this in the past. However, maybe you've changed. So tell us a little bit about that.
You never know. So I think, out of the 5,
yes,
personal touch is good.
Mm-hmm.
Quality time is great, though. So if you can't have personal touch without quality time. So I'm thinking that quality time is important. It's important for me, and we came out of our first part of our relationship was weeks and weeks apart from each other, mm-hmm. because you were living in one city and I was living in another city, mm-hmm. and so that was how we started the relationship. And then because of your business, you traveled a lot and I traveled a lot, and there were years when we were not together over 100 days a year, mm-hmm. and so it was important for quality time. So when we got together, it had to be quality time. It had to be something we had to pay attention to being together. We couldn't continue the same work environment 24/7. We had to say, okay, this is dedicated time, mm-hmm. to you, to me to you, and from you to me. We had to dedicate. So I would say quality time is very important, and personal touch. I like to be touched.
So that's what you like to receive.
Touched.
Because, they say it's the gift of, some people like to give those things, and some people like to get those things.
Right.
I think that you're very affectionate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you like to give touching as well.
I do. But mm-hmm. I was just saying what I wanted. Okay. Your initial question was what I wanted.
Okay, so what do you want to do
now
elaborate on?
Now you could say, what do I like to give? You want to ask me that question?
First, I want to go back to what do you like to get? And you said personal touch. So what about personal touch do you love about that?
Personal touch is, there's these, because we always do that. We always touch each other, mm-hmm. And I think that's the way to stay in contact throughout the day. So it's not just you go through the day and at the end of the day, then you touch. Or when you want to make love, you touch. All of a sudden, I get amorous, right? Mm-hmm. But we touch all the time. Mm-hmm. We make it a habit of touching each other, mm-hmm. and staying in contact, looking at each other and complimenting each other, mm-hmm. and smiling. So those are, words of affirmation, which you are big on words of affirmation.
Hey, don't be taking my part.
I'll say that. Well, I'm talking now, so I might as well just keep on talking. You're big on words of affirmation, so just, baby, you look good today. I mean, that gets me a long way. You'd be surprised how far that gets you. So what are you two? What's important to you?
Really, mine is words of affirmation.
Right.
That's what I like to get.
As if I didn't know.
And that's what I like to give. I asked the question
before, so I understood. Go ahead.
That's what I like to get. That's what I like to give. And that's obviously what you like to do because you like to talk. But honestly, when you think about those things,
right.
When I do get words from you, mm-hmm. what made this relationship so great for me was that it came naturally for you. You give words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. You write words of affirmation. I called you yesterday.
You did.
And I read you something that you wrote to me.
Right.
Gosh.
How many years ago?
20-some years ago.
Yeah.
It was 20-some years ago. And it was written so beautifully. And I framed it. And it's in my office. And I just called you and read it to you. And I think you liked it,
I did.
but I loved it so much that I kept it. And the way in which you write, you're very creative in the way. Even cards, the way you do cards is very creative. So for me, the gift you give me of words of affirmation has been great. But I will tell you that I didn't think personal touch was at such a high part on my list. But what I've always loved about us, and we talked about this the other day, is that we like to hold hands.
Right.
And we've never stopped holding hands. And you told me early in our relationship that you like a woman that holds hands. And that there were other women that you had that didn't hold hands naturally. But that goes well for us. And
right. That personal touch was not part of their game plan. Right. And that's something that I didn't enjoy. You're right.
Yeah. What about the others? Like gifts is not for me. Like I love that part of our relationship where we don't need to give each other gifts. And that started way back. Now,
right.
I don't
so,
know.
And so some people would disagree with this, I think.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. What works for them?
And we'll talk about it. So at Christmas, we have to buy a lot of gifts for people that work for us and people who don't. And children and grandchildren, all that kind of stuff. And so, but it's a lot of pressure. It's not, you got to think, okay, what are we going to do?
Because that's how we see it, because we're not gift givers. It's not our acts of service.
We don't practice that.
I mean, it's not our, what do they call it? Love language.
So we've developed this thing where, look, on Christmas, don't worry about giving me anything. And you say the same, don't worry about giving me anything. So we
mean it.
We mean it. Not like, don't give me anything, baby. And then on Christmas Day, like, where's my gift? You really didn't buy me anything? Damn, I didn't mean it. But so we actually mean it. Like, please don't put me through that. I don't know how much to spend. Is that not? So we don't do that.
Right.
And it's easier for us.
It is easy for us.
But we give each other gifts all year long.
All year long. And the way that we like to get them. We like to get gifts in travel. We like to get gifts in different things. If you see something, you pick it up. If I see something, we pick it up. I think gift giving, like yesterday you came home from the grocery store with a bunch of groceries. And to me, that's a gift. That's a stop I don't have to make.
Yeah.
And the things that you. So I think that's what works in our relationship.
What do you need?
Yeah.
What is anything you need?
Right. So gift giving,
Please
acts of
say
service.
no, because I just left the store. Oh my God.
First, we like to buy acts of service. Anybody that does anything for us.
Right.
Like if you want to clean the house, if you want to cook, if you want to, that's great. But,
right.
But we have to take out our trash. Right.
Unfortunately.
So we look at each other like, is it your day or is it my day? Because acts of service.
So some people would say, well, damn it, that's a man's job to take out the trash. There shouldn't be a conversation about that, right?
Yeah.
But, so each relationship should be according to how you determine it to be. And so we gotta say taking out our trash is like damn near a quarter mile to the curb. I mean, it's a long way, right? And then you're walking downhill with this trash can. Then you go down there and drop it off. And then you gotta go, did you pick up the trash today? No, I didn't get the empty can. Damn. So, you gotta go down there at night, flashlight, trying to get the damn can, bring it back. So anyway, but then I might do most of the cooking, right?
Yes.
I enjoy cooking, so
you enjoy cooking, which is great, which is another act of service.
Act of service, right? Mm-hmm.
And you do it well,
right?
And I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So my act of service there is clean.
Right.
I clean the kitchen before. I clean the kitchen after.
Right.
I don't ever complain about cleaning. I'll do it all the time. I will make sure that the kitchen looks great when you wake up in the morning. Both of us really love a clean space. Right. So that's acts of service to each other. Both of us really do love things in the right order. And that would bother us if we didn't have things in the right order. But I think in my mind, you want to have a clean kitchen when you come down in the morning. Right. And I want it to be clean for you. So I don't have any problem with that.
So what else do you, in terms of the
5 love languages?
5 love languages. Mm-hmm. What else do you have in there?
Let's see. There's acts of service. There's gifts. There's personal touch. There's words of affirmation, and there's quality time. Let's go back to quality time.
Let's go back.
Because there's a little survey that you can take, and God has a great sense of humor. He gave me a husband who likes quality time. He gave me all 4 of our kids who like quality time.
Right.
And that is not even on my list.
The one thing she can't give. 7 minutes? Are you kidding me? I cannot give 7 minutes.
That is not true.
That is ridiculous.
But what we do that works for me is that when we travel, we make sure that we have a lot of time to each other, which worked really well when we have a long distance relationship.
Right. And when we travel, we seem to just blossom in our relationship. It just seems to get get better
Mm-hmm.
when we travel. You know, we just have the time. Some people, when they're together, and COVID has proved this. You know,
Yeah.
when some couples have gotten together, they're like, you know what? I really don't like you. I
Mm-hmm.
found out that I don't like you, you know, and so that's happened a lot during COVID. We happen to be fortunate because when we're together, we always seem to have a better time when
Right.
we're together. We you know kind of blossom. So we actually like each other.
A lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And for a long time.
And for a long time.
Yep. So acts of service, quality time, you know, all those 5 things has made such a difference. So the benefit there is to know your partner's quality.
Mhm.
The benefit there is to know your partner's love language. And the other thing to think about it is when they're given their love language that they like to receive, their tank is full. And when they don't receive it, their tank is empty. And when their tank is empty, that's when arguments break out. That's when patience is short. So I really do pay attention to that.
Well, it's amazing that you answered the question I was going to ask. You know, so why do we pay attention to love languages?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, but you said it.
Yeah.
Because if you want your relationship to blossom and bloom, you got to know what the other person wants.
Right.
You got to know what the other person's thinking. You have to ask the questions about what they want. Just like, you know, in sex, you got to find out what the person likes. And you got to be a giver. And if you're not a giver and you're only a taker, then you know there's certain things you got to work out.
Right.
So I like the 5 languages.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
It makes a lot of sense.
All right.
Okay.
So there's something I would like to talk about.
Okay.
And so when we first met, and we talked about this story before, but we met in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And you lived in Boston,
Uh-huh.
and I lived in Baltimore.
Mhm.
And but we decided to make a go of it. We decided to start seeing each other, but we were long distance, so long distance.
Yes.
So 200 miles.
Not a car ride.
Not a car. No, 8 hours by car.
Mm-hmm.
1 hour by plane,
Mm-hmm.
and 8 hours by train, which is kind of a long train ride also. So
And I've done that too.
we've done them all. We've done them all. We've multiple times. We've done them all for whatever reason.
Right.
You know, we had to do that, and so we would visit each other, and you know, maybe twice a month or once every 3 weeks, sometimes once a month. You know, it's according to how often between our work
And
that
blended
we did,
families.
and blended families,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, you know, how did that work out? What do we do? What else do we do to kind of keep connected?
You know, I get this question a lot. I really do get this question a lot about our long distance relationship and how a long distance relationship worked for us.
Yeah.
You know, when I think about the fact that number 1, it was a big distance. Number 2, we had a blended family. Number 3, we had entrepreneurial businesses that would bleed into the weekends and things like that. But and taking it way back, there weren't cell phones.
There were not cell phones, right? When we first started seeing each other, there were no such thing as cell phone. I remember we got our first cell phone. It was like, "Hello, how are you?"
But the reason I thought about that is that we talked to each other a lot.
Yeah, we did.
We talked to each other in the morning. We talked to each other in the evening. We talked to each other during the day. So I think that one of the things that made such a big difference for us is that we were so connected, communicated with each other. We talked a lot
Right.
to each other.
We did. And
And it was
when you say a
important for
lot,
us.
it was like sometimes hours
It was hours.
at a time.
And it was
Right.
hours for 6 years. We were
Yeah.
6 years apart. So
Right.
sometimes it was long conversations. And I think another thing that did make a difference is that we did travel to each other different ways. Like I would take the train and leave at night to be here in the morning.
Yep.
And we would do whatever it took. And we had to move quickly. The third thing I would say is that we moved quickly. Like if a weekend opened up when, you know, my kids were with their dad or your kids were with their mom, you know, we could decide quickly. And that made a big difference.
It
like
did, right,
Friday,
it did.
we're going to be each other.
Right. And you know, but to go back back then also that was before the airlines were so difficult. You know, you could walk, you just walk to the gate, right? You didn't have to go. It was this security thing, all this stuff.
That's
you
right.
kind of just walk to the gate and get on the plane and go.
Yeah.
And all of this extra security came in after 9/11,
Right.
and it was just made travel so much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the interest of passenger safety. But so back then it was a little bit easier to kind of just, you know, like I need a flight in an hour and a half. Let me go to the airport and get on a flight. And
Right.
so those kind of things could be done.
Made a difference. And, you know, the fact that we were entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
the advantage of that was we had flexibility. We didn't have to be back on Monday. We didn't have to be back on Tuesday.
Right.
So
the advantage was that we didn't have to, but the disadvantage was that, or actually I do, because I got 12 hours of work I got to get done, on the plane.
Or
right.
what you did that was
Right.
really special is
Uh-huh.
that you intentionally found jobs to do in Boston.
Yeah.
Remember that?
That was great, right?
That was really great. He was he was doing some construction up there.
Construction
that was great.
work. Went up to Boston to do some work. That was great.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. So, the maneuvering, the paying attention to each other, the being on the phone with each other, also was we would make time to be in each other's city when it was important to the other person.
Right.
So if there was an event that you had to have in Baltimore, I would do whatever I could possibly do to be there with you. And you would do the same. And I remember coming down to Baltimore, I guess it was sort of early in our relationship, but you had a party, a house party. Remember that?
I do.
And
I had a lot of them.
I remember
that one. I remember the one you're talking about.
Yes, he had a lot of house parties. But I remember this was when a lot of your friends didn't know about me, because I lived in Boston. So I was never at any of those things. But I remember intentionally finding an absolutely amazing outfit.
You did, right. Tell me about the outfit.
It was
What you have
absolutely
on?
tight,
Yes.
short,
Uh-huh.
off the shoulders.
Uh-huh.
Hair was laid, came down to here. This one had bangs, so I could flick it like this. And I walked around that room and met everybody and said, "Hi, my name is Gloria. I'm Ken's girlfriend."
That's right. That's what she did. There was a lot of competition back then,
And I was intentionally coming down and saying that you two could be number two.
Yep, exactly right. That's what she believes. I'm going to be number one. I don't care what is going on.
It was a lot of fun, though.
Right.
But I got a chance to see you in your vibe.
Yeah.
At your parties. People were always accustomed to you having parties.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't, because I wasn't here. So that was a big deal. It made a big difference.
All right.
Yeah. I think it's exciting to talk about what we did to spice up the relationship.
Yeah.
Not just the distance. Because the thing about a long distance relationship that made it special was I didn't get to see you on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So when I did get to see you, it was special. But a lot of times what we did was we made those times special. They were experiences. I remember flying down here and you told me early that we were going to go down to DC and that we were going to have a date night in DC. We're going to go to a jazz club. We're going to go to a great, great restaurant. And, remember we used to meet in New York. New York was the halfway point.
The halfway point, right.
That was sort of very exciting. That wasn't sort of exciting. That was very exciting because number one, New York was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, New York was your home.
Yep.
Number three, there's always so much stuff to do in New York. And we would have such a great time going down there. And so we made some very great stops and we could both drive to New York. So that was another thing, was where we were going to make an experience and what we were going to do that was going to be a sacrifice for both of us, but we were willing to do it. What would you say was some advice?
Well, I mean, that's great that you say that. The meeting in New York was always great. And the dedication of time. And so when you were coming in, I put everything aside that I could, and we would just be together.
But you always played basketball.
I always played basketball. So those are during the times when
fitness has always been number one in his world. Let's just keep it clear.
Exactly. So I played ball with this group of people every afternoon. No matter what. I got work from 5:30 to 11:30 and go play basketball from 12 to 2, and then work from 3 o'clock to 11 probably. But that's when you weren't here. But when you were here, we really dedicated time. We have plans to go out and eat or whatever we had plans to do, we do that. The other thing is that even when a person's in the other city, I could send you flowers or a card or something.
Yeah,
just,
you did.
To let you know that I'm thinking about you, to let you know that I'm, that you're important to me, and all of that. So I think those were important.
I don't want to even gloss over that at all, because you sending me things and I did not know they were coming.
Right.
Was really important to my heart, because when you're in a long distance relationship, it is a tug. It is not always easy.
Right.
You always wish that something else was happening given the situation that you're in. Like if you're together, you're together. But if you're not together, you always wish you were together. And there's a lot of things that we had to go to alone. I had to go to parties alone. You had to go to different things alone, because we had long distance relationships. So sending things to me that I didn't expect were big, and the cards that you sent were always really big.
Were they amazing?
They were. They were amazing. I sent you cards.
First of all, look. So the cards themselves were
You're big on that.
amazing. You don't just go to. I won't mention. Just go and get a card. Just flip and get it. You want a card that stands out.
Yeah.
That's exceptional. Exceptional. You want to just a little. Pay attention to the gift. And when you wrap a gift, pay attention to the wrapping of the gift. But the cards, and then I really spend time to write in it, or I prepare the poem or whatever it was that I wanted to put in it, and make it. Hopefully it was prose or poetry or something.
It was awesome.
Was nice.
I remember the very first note you wrote me.
Uh-huh.
You said, "I can't wait for the cycle to go back around the moon again for me to see you." And I was like, "Wow." Man, really, that was how to be romantic, and it was very romantic, and I really loved that part of it.
And so I think that's an important function also. It's the romantic part of a relationship. You can't let the romance die when you're in different places.
Right.
You got to keep, because a lot of people, maybe their man or the woman that, a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And as a soldier, and they're away for so long, you can't contact them.
Right.
There's got to be certain things that you do on, standardly, and there's got to be certain things that you can do as a surprise.
Right.
I know there's, people on submarines, sometimes they don't get a chance to talk to each other for months at a time.
Right.
And so it's important to be able to really make special the time that you do have together. That has to be not haphazard, not ad hoc. That has to be time that's really thought about, considered, and, going beyond the pale to really make it good.
Right, right. You know what? I think your intentions become very clear.
Yes.
And it feels very loving when you're intentionally doing things that are planned out, which made a difference. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we had to plan out really important was when we were going to blend the kids into our relationship.
Oh, that was a big one.
Right? Mm-hmm. So we waited a whole
year. We were not going to, just throw the kids together. They didn't even know we were seeing each other.
Right. For a whole year.
For a year. Mm-hmm. Exactly. For a year. They didn't know anything until we finally, kind of got them together, just touched base a little bit and touch base a little bit.
We took them to Florida.
Took them to Florida for a week, and so we were together. So that was.
They meshed great, though. They meshed great.
Good, and so we are so proud.
Yeah.
Of the way they've turned out. They're all, grown adults now, but they have this relationship where they're this bond together, where they're just brother and sister, all of them are brother and sister.
But we were careful. We were real careful.
Right.
And when we were at each other's cities, when I was with your children, we did something with them. And when we came to Boston, we did something with them. Right. So that made it very special for them when you came.
Right.
And it made it special for your kids when I came. Right. And honestly, I think my kids really relished those times because it made me so happy.
What happened when you asked me what your kids should call me?
Oh my God. That was so funny. What do you want my kids to call you? Mr. Banks?
Well, sir.
Like what?
Sir, Lord, Mr. Banks.
Yes, Sir, Lord.
What do you think?
What do you want I was like, what are your kids supposed to call me? And I was like, Gloria. So his kids called me Gloria, and my kids called him Mr. Banks for 6 years, you guys. However, it was hilarious because the minute we said I do at the wedding, my kids looked at him and said, "Hi, Ken." It was hilarious. We didn't know that was coming, but I'm telling you, whole room cracked up.
They knew they had said that before we got married. I was, I'm not getting married. I don't know. No. Your kids called me Ken. That ain't happening. They waited till after we got married. A little sneaky guys, man.
That was hilarious. But it was good. We worked it. We did it for a long time, and it worked great for us.
Mm-hmm. There's a stigma about long distance relationships, and people are either afraid to get into them, or when they get into them, they don't work, or some don't work, etc. Yeah. So, what is the advice that you would give them in terms of continuing their long distance relationship, making it fruitful, making it viable, making it something that they can hold on to and not be afraid to get into it?
That's a great question, because what I find,
I came up with it just.
what I find that people do
Uh,
is they're so resistant to the
Right.
idea of a long distance relationship before
Right.
they even know if they love the person.
mhm.
You know, they can't even like the person or get into the person because they've already said, I don't want a long distance relationship. I don't want a long distance. So many times we miss our blessing because we didn't even look at the person. So for me, I wanted love. For
Right.
me, I wanted respect. For me, I wanted someone who made me laugh.
Mhm.
Those things were more important than the sacrifices I had to make the relationship work. So my advice to people is don't close the door on anything until you find the person, because the person is the gift. And the sacrifices are much lower when the reward is the gift of the person. So the gift of your love was more important to me than the sacrifice I had to make to have it. What would you
Yes.
say to a man
Mhm.
who is afraid of a long distance relationship? Especially with the internet and the apps and everything, you know, you don't know where you're going to find this person.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a different question. The internet, the apps. No, so let's say you found a person that you like,
Right,
but the person's nowhere close. And
Right.
so, what do you do?
right.
And I think you just have to follow your heart.
Mm,
You just have to follow your heart. You can't, and not to follow your heart, not to have that you know what? Don't ever say in your life, I wish I had done that. I wish I had tried.
mm.
Just try. I mean, what's it going to hurt? Just give it a try. I think we talked about some of the things that you can do to kind of hopefully hold it together, to solidify. Um, and but I want to go for it. I want to go for it. That's the way I feel about life. You know,
Mhm.
I want to go for it. I want to find the adventure. I want to go for it. So if I'm finding somebody like I found you, or we found each other in Florida, and we realized that we were so far apart, I'm not going to be afraid to go after that because of that distance.
Mhm.
I want to try. I want
And
to do the
figure it
best I
out.
can. And yeah, and figure it out.
Figure
Yeah,
it
is
out.
this the person? Is this the person that, you know, are there possibilities there? If there are possibilities, I mean, if we didn't start on the best. My statement to you was like, "Hi, my name is Ken, and I am not getting married again." Right?
Right.
That was my statement.
Literally.
Right. Exactly. But I knew that I really enjoyed you. I knew that you had an incredible personality, incredible character, and, you know, incredible smile, incredible beauty. And so this is somebody that I wanted to.
That word beauty.
Words of affirmation.
yeah.
Pay attention. Pay attention. You know, this beauty and all that. So I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted you to be a part of my life. And so I'm not going to let that distance means nothing to me. And so I'm hoping that, you know, when people find that, when they can find
Right,
that
when they
person,
find that.
you know, just don't give up on it. We have a niece who has
Right.
the long distance relationship of, well, you know, in for forever. I don't know what to say. That's the
It's a long
long distance
relationship.
relationship.
Right.
So she lives in Baltimore,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And she's a nurse at Hopkins.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend is where?
London.
London, England.
Right.
So where is
In
she
the
now?
UK.
Where is she now?
She's in the
London,
UK.
right. So they travel back and forth between continents.
Right.
Right. Between countries.
Through COVID, back and forth.
Through COVID.
Right.
You know, through immigration, through,
Right.
you know, what do you call those?
Testing,
Testing and all
yeah.
of that. I mean, and they've been together about 3 years.
Yeah.
And they have a
Great
magnificent relationship.
Yeah.
Really great. Every time they see each other, they're just so happy
Super
to
happy.
be.
Make everybody in the room happy because they're happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That just last Thanksgiving he was here.
Yeah.
No.
But the point of it is,
Yes.
they did not give up on what they found
Right.
because of the obstacle.
Because of the
Every
obstacle.
relationship has obstacles,
Right.
right? Every relationship has obstacles.
Right.
So, you know, I think you should go for it.
Go for it. And if it doesn't work out, okay, it doesn't work out. A lot of things at home don't work out, but you give it a try.
Right.
And give it the best you got.
That's right.
That's what I would say about that.
That's good advice. Okay. This is fun because this is something that a lot of people are talking about.
Okay, let's go.
Does the relationship change when the title change? I'm dating her. She's my girlfriend. She's my wife. What do you think happens in relationships with either wife or husband when the relationship changes or the title changes? Does the relationship change?
It can.
Mhm.
And that's according to who's in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about us.
Okay, let's start there.
Did it So in our relationship, we met, and it was, and we get to find out about one another. You explore, and so that was phase one.
Mhm.
And what was phase two? What was phase two marriage, or is there an intermediate phase for us?
I think it's for us, it was
Yeah.
a real girlfriend boyfriend. I mean, we were girlfriend boyfriend, but then we were like really together, but we weren't married. Like we
Right.
were very committed, but we weren't married because number one, we lived in two different cities. Number two, we had to blend the families. Number three, we had two entrepreneurial businesses that were in two different cities. So
Right.
there was a lot of maneuvering that we had to do. But everyone around us that knew us knew we were totally committed to each other, but we weren't yet married.
Right.
Right. So I think that was another level too.
But I don't think we changed. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't think that we changed
Okay, that's good.
our personalities
Yeah.
or whatever. I don't think we were looking to find a different way. So one other thing, I don't need you to make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need me to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't looking to live each other's lives like that.
Right.
We have our own lives, and we were living large in our own lives.
Mhm.
And when we got together, it was because we wanted to be together, and we wanted to have that, that time, that togetherness time. I think sometimes couples get into a situation where there's an imbalance,
Mm-hmm.
where one person's working, one person's not, and this and that. Not that that's wrong, but if it
For that relationship, those are
right.
balanced.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And so then we got married, and we got.
Wait a minute, let's go to this phase two a
Okay,
little bit,
go ahead.
because one of the things that worked really well for us,
Yeah.
because we were together for a long time, is that everybody was asking us, "Are you going to get married? Are you going to get married? Are you going to get married?" So I tell you that a lot of people lean into other people's expectation.
Right, that's a good point. Very good.
Before, like your friends, I went to you
Yes.
once and I
Yes.
said, Ken, my friends are asking when we're going to get married.
Yeah,
And you
it's been
said,
a long time. When are you guys going to get married? And I said, well, my friends are thinking that's pretty great. That's amazing. How do you do that? I said, what's the problem?
but
I
we
don't
laughed
know.
about that. We
Right.
laughed about that because we knew it was what we wanted to do.
Right,
And the truth is, I wanted to get married before you wanted to get married.
right.
So then we got married.
Yes,
And did we change because of the title?
I got to say no.
Okay.
I don't think we changed. I think we knew who each other were, and I think we didn't change. When people are, I think if you're presenting a false self
Mm-hmm.
prior to marriage, and you get married, and then that false self winds away, and then the real self comes forward.
Right.
I think that's when there are difficulties in
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
or when people begin to grow apart. But at least when they get married, I think it's usually they're together,
Yeah.
like that. But oftentimes, and we talked about this, whether we're very lucky that we have grown together in our business life, in our social life, in our spiritual lives.
Yes.
We've grown together,
Right.
and it's really amazing that
Yeah.
we've done that
Right.
over the course of years. And so not only did we present our true selves prior to marriage,
Mhm.
and those true selves that those true beings have kept forward,
Right.
but also that we have grown together.
Yeah, I
that's
think there
important.
was a lot of pride for me
Mhm.
to be Mrs. Banks. I
As well
love
that
taking.
should be.
I did. I loved
Right.
becoming Mrs. Banks. I
Mhm.
wanted to become Mrs. Banks.
Right.
I wanted the level of commitment.
Right.
I didn't want to and wasn't going to move here until we were married.
Right.
And so there was some level of commitment that made a difference for me and not necessarily for you. But I think also is that we didn't necessarily change the kind of things that other people would do. We did our relationship the way we wanted to do our relationship.
You said that before. Now,
Mhm.
now talk about that a little bit more.
What
What does that mean?
Well, part of it, and a big example was when I moved here to the Baltimore area.
Right.
I got my own house.
Mhm.
We didn't move in together. And both of us at that time, before you had a big office developed downtown, you had a home-based business and I had a home-based business.
Mhm.
And my business was loud and a lot of people and a lot of activity and the kids were loud and your home was very quiet, peaceful, that type of thing. So it didn't lend easily to us blending the family, and we didn't force it
Right.
just because we had the title of marriage.
Right. And that's important. Well, so another reason that that's important,
Yeah.
is that we did it the way we wanted to do it,
Right.
not what society expects or demands,
Right.
not what friends or relatives expect or demand,
Right.
but is what we saw in our future and how we wanted to live our lives in our future together.
And both of us were comfortable with that.
Yes, and it was certainly a combined or a shared vision.
Yeah.
Or
Because everybody asked.
Everybody asked, or maybe there's some
Y'all still
compromise.
not living together?
Right, So that bothered you. Didn't bother me at all.
No, that bothered me. I just said that's what they used to say.
Right.
And I used to answer was, I see him plenty.
Right. So, but it's true. So we just gotta do you. Gotta be who you are. Gotta do, in relationship, gotta do us.
Right.
As opposed to anything else around, it doesn't really matter because it's us. Right.
One of the things that I'd like to point out is that we gave each other space. We talk about that sometimes, but I want to give them an example of the space. Now, you run in a construction company.
Right.
I come over to your house,
right?
And I go upstairs, and the whole upstairs is totally different. The walls are knocked down, repainted, rooms enlarged. I was like, wow. But I didn't get that feeling like, well, you didn't talk to me about it first. Well, that was your house. And you wanted to do it. And you didn't even think about saying, well, Gloria, I'm going to knock this wall down. You just knocked the wall down. I used to come over to my house and you walk in, there's a new couch. I think the freedom that both of us enjoyed, that kind of freedom with each other.
Well, let me, yes, I do. And to add on to that, we've allowed each other to live our own lives. And I think somehow that's been missed. We haven't talked about that.
Okay.
And so, when we're living together or not living together, you traveled a lot. And, when I say you were gone maybe 100, 150 days a year, something of that nature, and let's say 100 days a year.
Yeah.
And, at least. And so you'd be traveling. And so I'm not saying to you, oh, I don't want you to go out of town. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to. Why are you working so hard? Why are you working 18? Because that's who you were. That's what you decided to do. That's what your vision for yourself was. And you've allowed me to do the same thing. You've allowed, because I've done a lot of travel also.
A lot of travel, a lot of hours,
all over
a lot
the
of
place.
stuff I didn't even understand.
Right, exactly. And so
you didn't have time to explain it to me.
But sometimes you don't. You're just like, I gotta go.
What about when we met in Australia?
That's good. That's a good example. So to tell that story, we decided to go to Australia, and I wanted to go via Hawaii. Right. Because I wanted to do some scuba diving in Hawaii, because they have great diving there. I'm a diver. And so I said, let me do that. And you said, I'm not feeling Hawaii right now. I got some things to do here. I'd rather spend the time here. I said, okay.
I want to just go to Australia.
All right, yeah.
Because I didn't scuba dive then.
Right. I said, okay, well, let's just meet each other in Australia. And we both said, okay, that's fine, right? And so I remember that you flew to Australia. I think you got there about 12 hours before my flight got in. So you got the hotel, you in the hotel, and you're waiting for me to come in Sydney. And I fly in from Hawaii, and we meet in Australia. And we said, we did. We decided to meet in Sydney, right? I mean, who
does that, right?
Not too many people are going to do that, right? We're just like, okay, yeah, I'll meet you, and And so that's the freedom that we allowed each other.
But when we walked there, you had this big tube with plans in it.
Right, because I had a bid going in. I had a construction bid going in, and I had to probably that day or the next day, spread out, right, big pages, doing calling people back. What's that bid, man? Give me your number. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. If you've never seen a construction contract go in, you got 13 subcontractors or whatever, and you're getting their pricing, and you're trying to figure out what they've excluded from their pricing, and you got 3 bids from in every category, and you're putting your own pieces in, and your materials, your people, all is complicated, right? And so you had to sit and probably watch me work for
the point of it is I didn't get upset about it.
Right.
I made my own time. I went swimming. I went shopping. I did what I needed to do. You had the space to do what you had to do.
Right.
And I wasn't looking over there like we're supposed to be on vacation.
Right.
I knew that if you were doing that, it was really important to you.
Right. Exactly.
And we grew that. That's a large part of the respect that we had. And in giving each other the freedom to do what we need to do.
Exactly.
That
And
was
so
a good
that's an important
But
piece.
we didn't change because our title changed.
Right.
The way I felt about our relationship for
Mhm.
me changed. The way I felt about our relationship, because now it's your wife, and I
Right.
liked it, and I'd advise it for anybody. But there's only one spot, and it belongs to me.
Unchallenged.
Yes. Okay, now that was a lot of fun. That episode was. I learned so many things about you that I didn't know. Quality time. We might have to change something.
Right, exactly.
We're
We'll go behind
so
the scenes, start
happy.
fighting. I dare you say that. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe it. Okay, no, it's okay. No, we're cool. We're good.
We're so excited you guys joined us
Thank you
today
so much.
for this episode. So
Right.
do us a favor. Follow us.
Mhm.
Share us. Give us to your friends. And
Right.
you can find us on YouTube right here. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button,
Right.
the like
Hit
button,
that.
all those
All
good
those
buttons. We
buttons.
want to hear from you. We want to see your comments. We want to see your questions. We want to know what you want to talk to us about. How can they
Exactly.
find us on the podcast?
They can find us on Apple and YouTube, Spotify, and just look at your podcast, your normal podcast situation, and that's where we'll be.
Because I am Gloria Banks on Instagram.
And I'm Ken Banks, official Ken Banks on Instagram. So check us out.
And you've been watching
Banking on the Banks.